Ahead of the 9/11 anniversary this week, should all eyes on ISIS be here and not there?
The number one threat to the homeland are Americans or Europeans who have passports, who've been over there and who are trying to come back, who may try to do something in the United States.
And former Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano says there's a good chance we don't have a fix on all of them. So are we in a fix? Welcome, everyone. I'm Stuart Varney in for Neil Cavuto, and this is Your World. With the threat of homegrown terror on the rise, the FBI now setting its sights on Minnesota. At least a dozen Americans from the Twin Cities are believed to have joined the fight with ISIS, including a 19-year-old Somali woman reportedly recruited to aid terrorists in Syria. Minnesota is home to Douglas MacArthur McCain, the first American to die while fighting with ISIS. And now reports a mosque in Cambridge, Massachusetts may be linked to at least 8 suspected and convicted terrorists. It is the same mosque the Tsarnaev brothers, blamed for the Boston Marathon bombing, attended. And now reports this guy, Ahmad Abu Samra, was also a regular worshipper at that mosque. He's said to be in charge of ISIS's sophisticated media wing, promoting beheadings and other atrocities. To former FBI agent Bill Daley on what's needed now to stop it. Bill, I imagine the FBI is swarming all over Minneapolis and Boston.
Well, I would tell you that they have been as well, because don't forget, Minneapolis in that area was also recruiting ground for people going to Somalia several years ago. So they have had their eyes on that area, as well as certainly after the Boston bombing, what's happening in and around Boston as well. But that's not to say that they're not looking more broadly across this country for other areas and other places that could be those sites for people to start.
On Minneapolis, for example, and the Somali community that lives there, will they be accused of profiling? Will they later be accused of picking on a group?
Well, no, I don't think so. They do it properly, and they have been doing it properly, which is soliciting the input of the local community, as opposed to just setting up surveillance and generally trying to watch what people are doing and what mosques they're attending to, which wouldn't be the right way in many levels for them to do it at. But if looking for input from the community, investigating links of those individuals they now know come from those communities and who else they may have been in contact with here or elsewhere, that's the way to go about the investigation.
With your experience as an FBI agent, what do you think it is that makes these people turn against the country, which took them in?
Well, kind of putting a sociology hat on here for a second, it really is the sense of belonging. People are looking for a cause for whatever reason in their lives, and we can't go into the multitude of reasons why people may feel inclined to be drawn to some cause. In this case, the cause is there. It may be something that they're introduced to by a friend, maybe virtually online. And in fact, I would probably tell you, I would take Mr. Napolitano's comments and go a little bit further, is that I'm really more concerned about those people who have been here in the U.S. who haven't traveled overseas, where there's a less likely chance that we maybe have come across their footprint on the radar of international travel, where it's people who've been self-radicalized, who have gone online and have learned to be kind of the homegrown jihadist from the Inspire magazine or some other sources. It's those people that I'm very much concerned about.
Do you believe that the threat level has just risen? It's not that we've got problems, that we do have problems over there. Now, clearly, we've got problems here. This has elevated the whole anxiety level of America, hasn't it?
It has elevated the anxiety level, but I also tell you, Stuart, is that it's really the play on the same theme that we've had with al-Qaeda. These are the same approaches that we take towards investigating al-Qaeda operatives, as we have over the years, to people who may want to be members of ISIS or have been members of ISIS. I think right now ISIS seems to be kind of like that catalyst out there that's drawing a lot of people, that for some reason has some type of attraction to those people who are looking for a cause.
Shouldn't it be relatively, I'm not going to say easy, but relatively straightforward to find out who these people are who've left the Twin Cities, for example, and gone over there to fight against us?
Well, that's to my point before, is that people who leave this country, you may be able to find out by either the travel patterns or by people in the community where they're traveling to. Although we don't really have a full view on, who's in that country. If intelligence picks up on them, that's one thing. But we're really concerned about, going back to my point earlier, which is people here who run below the radar, who aren't traveling, who aren't acting out of the norm, who then all of a sudden decide to do something, like the Tsarnaev brothers did up in Boston.
About that. All right, Bill Daley, thanks very much for joining us. I appreciate that. If someone in the U.S. is someone in the U.S. funding this ISIS recruiting effort, Count Abdi Bihi very concerned about this. He's a Somali community activist. He's from Minneapolis, and he joins us now. All right, so is it known within the Somali community that there is an assistance network that's funneling these people out of the country? Is that known in the Somali community?
Well, few of them have been indicted before, and of course there are people who are funding this. There are people who are recruiting our young men and women now, but that's the job of the local authorities, the FBI and the police, to investigate and bring those people to justice.
You were contacted, I believe, by the young woman's family. I think they wanted to know, how can we get her back? Is that correct?
No, they wanted me to help them how to contact with the authorities, or what I think they should do. And I encouraged them that they will be safe, that they are victims like us, that will be supported by the law enforcement to locate their daughter.
Do you believe that there is a network of contacts within the United States that are bringing these youngsters around, giving them tickets to get them overseas? Is there that network in place, you believe?
I think there is a network. I think that without a network on a complex system, nothing would have done. I object to those experts who say, oh, let's blame the internet. As I said before, no young person gets up in the morning and decides to Google for jihadists. It's someone here that recruits these young people who are vulnerable because there are no positive programming in our communities, that engage after school programming, that engage mentoring young people, or programs that support us to continue with the soccer tournaments and basketball tournaments. There are people on the other side that are engaging them to radicalize, eventually, innocently, to radicalize them and create this pipeline of jihadists. So we need to compete with those people.
So is it known within your community who these people are that are recruiting youngsters?
Well, of course, some people know about this, and we encourage those people to work and cooperate with the law enforcement. We had a great relationship in the past, and we are continuing that, hoping that the law enforcement continues to have a great relationship with the community.
If there's one thing that you could do now that would stop this from happening, what would it be?
Very simple. I said that many, many times, and I continue to say this. Give us the resources to the Somali American organizations, the resources to create after-school programming, the resources to create jobs, the resources to compete with these bad people. That was not happening. That is what needs to happen to change the whole game.
All right. Abdi Bihi, we thank you very much for joining us, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.